A mechanic knows exactly what a car costs when it breaks. That knowledge changes every family buying decision, especially when the keys go to their own kid. Today we're looking at 6 cheaper cars mechanics actually trust for young drivers. Number 1 is boring, reliable, and exactly why I'd hand my own kid the keys. Number 6, 2008 to 2011 Ford Focus. Nobody brags about handing a kid an old Focus, and that is why a mechanic parent starts paying attention. A first car is going to get scratched, curbed, parked crooked, and sometimes maintained late because young drivers learn the hard way. I like this generation because it is cheaper, simple, and forgiving. We are talking about the 2008 to 2011 Focus, not the later dual-clutch headache that gave the name a brutal reputation. This older one uses a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder with a regular manual or conventional automatic, and that matters when the car is for your own child. If my kid calls from a parking lot saying the car is shaking, squeaking, or not starting, I want normal problems, not some mystery transmission that needs a dealer laptop and a prayer. Alternators, starters, brakes, wheel bearings, tires, and front suspension parts are common and usually same-day shop work. A brake job can stay in the few $100 range, an alternator is not a family disaster, and parts are sitting on shelves instead of hiding across the country. The other parent benefit is insurance and mistakes. A Focus does not invite showing off the way a cheap sports car does. It has enough room for school bags, work clothes, and a friend, but it still feels compact enough for a new driver to judge corners, curbs, and parking lines. Safety-wise, this is not a tank, and I will not pretend it is. But for a cheap compact, standard side airbags in this generation, modest power and predictable handling make sense for a young driver. Modest power is not a weakness here. It is a safety feature when the driver is still learning wet roads, bad merges, and late braking. Current prices usually run around $3,500 to $6,500 for clean basic examples, depending on miles, rust, and records. That keeps it in the lowest entry lane on this list. At a private sale, here is the parent's check. Turn the steering wheel lock to lock, then drive over a rough street and listen for clunks. Look at every tire. If the edges are chopped, uneven, or feathered, expect suspension or alignment money. Also, check that the heat, air, windows, lights, and door locks work, because small repairs still become annoying for a student. One more private sale trick. Bring a cheap scan tool or ask a parts store to scan it. A warning light that was just cleared is not a small detail when your child needs the car for school and work. Also, watch the title story. A rebuilt title might look cheaper, but a first car should not teach your kid about hidden frame damage, airbag lights, and crooked repairs. Change oil on time. Keep coolant fresh. Rotate tires, and do not ignore front-end noise. A loose, cheap car teaches bad habits. Choose this car when you need the lowest cost, first car that can take normal teenage wear without turning every mistake into a family financial problem. The next car is smaller, easier to park, and better for a young driver who lives where every parking spot feels tight. Number 5, 2011 to 2014. Mazda 2. Tiny can look weak from the sidewalk, but for a nervous young driver, tiny can be a gift. A mechanic parent buys the Mazda 2 for the kid learning campus lots, city streets, apartment parking, and tight driveways where every scratch becomes a family argument. It is small enough to place easily, light enough to feel honest, and slow enough to keep foolish choices from getting out of hand too quickly. I would not call it the most protective car here because it is still a small hatchback. This is the city driver pick, not the highway warrior pick. But control matters. Young drivers need clear visibility, direct steering, and a car that teaches smooth inputs before speed becomes part of the conversation. The Mazda 2 uses a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder with a 5-speed manual or a simple automatic, and that is exactly what I want in a cheap first car. No turbo heat, no complex all-wheel drive, no giant wheels, no luxury electronics that age into costly nonsense. Less weight means brakes, tires, clutch parts, and suspension pieces live an easier life. When something goes wrong, most jobs are ordinary. Brakes, tires, batteries, sensors, Clutch work and suspension repairs are straightforward for a normal independent shop. Parts are not quite as plentiful as Corolla parts, but they are still available, and a basic front brake job or control arm repair should not turn into a week-long nightmare. I also like that it makes speed feel fast before the speedometer gets foolish. That sounds funny, but it matters. A young driver can learn rhythm, braking, and lane placement without needing horsepower. Current prices usually sit around $4,000 to $7,500 for normal examples. I would skip the overpriced low-mile garage queen and buy the clean, honest, maintained car instead. Take it to an empty parking lot. Make tight turns, brake gently, brake firmly, and listen. It should feel light, direct, and stable, not clunky, shaky, or loose. Then drive it at neighborhood speed and highway speed, because a bent wheel or worn tire can hide until the car gets moving. For the Mazda, I would also check the seating position with the actual kid in the car. If they cannot see the corners, mirrors, and blind spots comfortably, the car is no longer the safe little city tool we wanted. Keep manual transmission fluid fresh if equipped. Rotate tires often. Replace worn control arm bushings. And do not let cheap tires ruin the way the car drives. Choose this car when your kid needs an easy city car that parks anywhere, costs little to run, and teaches good driving habits without tempting them with power. If your teenager complains that it is not impressive, good. That means it is doing one part of its job. The next one is the opposite. It is boxy, roomy, and perfect for the student who always seems to be moving something. If this parent's first buying advice helps, subscribe. We look for reliable cars, simple repairs, and mechanics whom we would trust with family. Number 4. 2010 to 2011 Kia Soul. Boxy does not always mean silly, because for a student, that upright shape can be the whole reason the car works. A mechanic parent looks at the early Kia Soul differently than a teenager does. The kid sees a toaster. We see a tall roof, a wide hatch, decent visibility, and a car that can handle dorm boxes, laundry baskets, backpacks, sports gear, work clothes, and maybe a small piece of furniture without borrowing a truck every month. That matters when your child is bouncing between home, classes, work, and first apartments. I would focus on the 2010 to 2011 Soul with simple 4-cylinder engines and conventional manual or automatic transmissions. I am not praising every Soul year forever. I am talking about this early window because it is basic, useful, and easy to understand. The higher seating position helps a young driver see traffic without jumping into a heavy SUV. The modest power keeps the car from becoming a toy. Safety is one of the reasons this car belongs here. The early Soul had strong safety recognition for its class, and for a parent, that pairs well with good visibility and a cabin that does not feel as tiny as a Mazda 2. When something goes wrong, we are usually talking about normal repairs. Alternators, brakes, batteries, suspension parts, engine mounts, door locks, hatch latches, and used automatic transmissions are available. If the kid calls from campus with a dead battery or brake noise, you are not hunting rare European parts or waiting 2 weeks for a special order. The cargo story matters too. Fold the rear seats, and the Soul becomes a little rolling bedroom closet. It can carry laundry tubs, flat-pack shelves, gym bags, computer gear, and the random stuff students collect. That saves parents from weekend rescue runs. Current prices usually run about $4,000 to $8,000, with many 2010 examples sitting around the mid-$6,000 range when mileage and condition are reasonable. Some low-mileage, clean cars will stretch above budget, so do not chase perfection. Chase honest. Call your insurance company with the vehicle identification number before buying. Some Kia models can be sensitive for insurance because of theft concerns, and you want that answer before your kid falls in love. Then test every door lock, window, hatch latch, key, air conditioning setting, and warning light. If locks are already acting weird, fixed costs can start stacking up. For the Soul, I would be strict about tires and brakes because a loaded student car gets heavier than parents expect. If it pulls while braking, shakes at highway speed, or has mismatched tires, negotiate hard or leave. Keep oil changes tight, service coolant, change transmission fluid on schedule, and replace worn engine mounts before vibration makes the whole car feel rough. Also, check tires closely. because students love to ignore tire pressure until the shoulders are gone. Choose this car when your kid needs cargo space, visibility, and everyday ease of use more than style or speed. It is not the coolest first car, but it might be the one that makes a parent sleep better. That is why we buy boring records over shiny paint, because a parent needs a car that starts every morning, stops straight, and does not turn small lessons into expensive panic. That final check matters more than stereo volume or wheel shine. The next car is for families where winter roads, rain, and gravel driveways are not optional. Number 3. 2008 to 2011 Subaru Impreza. 2.5 eyes. I would not buy this Subaru blindly, and that is exactly why a mechanic parent respects it. In snow country, the buying question changes. A kid in Michigan, Colorado, Vermont, Pennsylvania, or any rural place with winter roads does not always need the cheapest car. Sometimes they need the car that gets them home when rain turns to ice, gravel gets loose, or a driveway becomes a mess before sunrise. That is where the non-WRX Impreza 2.5i makes sense. We are not buying turbo power, loud exhaust, lowered springs, or some kid-owned project with stickers and chopped tires. We are talking about the naturally aspirated flat 4 with a regular manual or automatic, standard all-wheel drive, and a simple enough layout that shops know well. It is not the lowest cost car here, and I would tell any parent that straight. But for the right climate, the extra confidence can be worth it. Safety-wise, young drivers need more than airbags. They need visibility, stable behavior, good tires, and a car that does not panic when pavement gets ugly. All-wheel drive helps the car move and stay composed, but it does not cancel bad judgment. I would still buy the best tires I could afford before buying any stereo upgrade. When something goes wrong, brakes, wheel bearings, axles, exhaust pieces, and suspension parts are common. The expensive risks are timing, belt neglect, and head gasket symptoms, so you inspect harder than you would on a Corolla. A timing belt service is not cheap, but it is predictable. Head gasket trouble is different. If it is already overheating, smelling sweet, bubbling coolant, or leaving oily leaks, that is not a first car. That is a project. Current price range for normal non-WRXX examples is roughly $5,000 to $8,000, with cleaner or low-mileage cars climbing higher. Drive it long enough to get fully warm, then let it idle. Look for overheating, a sweet coolant smell, bubbles in the overflow tank, oil leaks, and white crust around coolant areas. If anything smells hot or sweet, walk away. Also check that all 4 tires match in brand, size, and tread depth, because mismatched tires can upset the all-wheel drive system and turn a cheap Subaru into costly shop time. For the Impreza, I also want the parent to understand tire cost. All-wheel drive feels secure, but it wants 4 similar tires, not one cheap replacement after a curb hit. If one tire is damaged and the rest are worn, you may be buying a full set. That is not a deal breaker. It is a budget rule. Tell your kid this before winter, because traction is not luck. Use matching tires on all 4 corners, keep coolant healthy, replace timing belt parts on schedule, and never treat all-wheel drive as magic. Choose this car when your kid faces snow, hills, gravel, or wet rural roads, and you are willing to inspect harder for extra bad weather confidence. The next car gives more fun with lower stress, but only if you buy it like a parent, not a teenager. If you want cars chosen like family decisions, subscribe. We care about safety, repair bills, and what happens after the sale. Number 2. 2009 to 2011 Honda Civic LX or EX. Here is the car a young driver actually likes, and a mechanic parent can still sleep at night. Some kids will hate a completely dead, boring car, and pretending that does not matter is a mistake. If the car feels miserable, they complain, get distracted, or start begging for something faster, older, and worse. A regular Civic gives them enough steering feel, fuel economy, daily comfort, and pride to keep them happy without giving them too much power. That is why I would look at LX or EX trims with the 1.8-liter 4-cylinder and a conventional manual or automatic. No SI for this job. No loud exhaust car. No cheap coilovers. No mystery tune. The Civic we want is a simple commuter with Honda parts support, not somebody else's project. For a young driver, the balance matters. It is not huge, but it has a strong crash test history for the era. Predictable braking, modest power, and excellent repair familiarity. It also teaches a kid that a car can feel connected without needing to be fast. I like that. When something goes wrong, the Civic usually breaks in ways every independent shop understands. Starters, alternators, brakes, radiators, motor mounts, suspension parts, air conditioning work, and oxygen sensors are all normal car repairs. Parts are everywhere, and many repairs can be same-day work if the shop has room. It may cost more to buy than the Focus, but resale stays strong, and repairs are familiar. The current price range is roughly $5,500 to $8,000 for normal LX or EX cars with higher but reasonable miles. Low-mileage clean cars can run past budget, so do not chase the prettiest listing online. Chase records, condition, and a stock car. Look for modifications before you even test drive. Loud muffler, lowered stance, mismatched wheels, cheap intake, warning lights, tinted windshield, racing stickers, or the word tuned should slow you down fast. Then check tire wear, make sure it tracks straight at highway speed, and do one firm stop. If it pulls, shakes, or feels loose, budget front-end work. Keep oil changes regular, service transmission fluid, check engine mounts, keep coolant fresh, and never ignore overheating or weak air conditioning, because small complaints grow when a kid keeps driving anyway. Choose this car when your kid wants something more enjoyable than a basic commuter, but you still want simple repairs, strong resale, and modest power. I also like the Civic for a kid who works part-time and pays some of the bills, because fuel mileage stays reasonable, and parts do not punish them for learning ownership. Just keep the trim normal. The moment it has a slammed stance, cheap wheels, or a seller bragging about races, it stops being the parent's pick. For the Civic, insurance matters too. A regular LX or EX usually stays reasonable, but the wrong look can change the whole conversation. Big wheels, loud exhaust, body damage, and modified lights tell insurance companies and parents the same thing. This car lived a harder life. I want the clean commuter owned by someone boring. One more parent rule. Buy the Civic from the owner who kept receipts, not the owner who kept upgrade photos. The right Civic is a calmer first car. The wrong one is a teenage mistake with Honda badges. Number 1 is the car mechanics choose when they want the fewest surprises possible, even if nobody cheers in the driveway. Number 1, 2009 to 2010, Toyota Corolla. A kid may not brag about a Corolla, but a mechanic parent knows boring can be beautiful. This is the car I would buy when the goal is fewer phone calls, fewer tow trucks, fewer weird repairs, and fewer arguments about money. A first driver does not need turbo power, low-profile tires, fancy screens, dark wheels, or a car that begs them to show off. They need a stable tool that starts, stops, steers, and forgives normal learning mistakes. The 2009 to 2010 Corolla with the 1.8-liter Toyota 4-cylinder and a conventional automatic or manual is exactly that kind of car. It is common, simple, and easy for almost any independent shop to service. Parts availability is excellent, and the repair network is huge. That matters when your kid is at school, work, or a friend's house and something goes wrong. You are not hunting rare parts. You are calling a normal shop about normal repairs. For safety, it has enough size to feel more planted than a tiny city car without becoming a big SUV. It is easy to see out of, easy to park, and not powerful enough to invite dumb behavior. That is not boring. That is smart parenting. When something goes wrong, brakes, struts, alternators, starters, wheel bearings, oxygen sensors, batteries, and motor mounts are the kind of repairs families can plan around. A Corolla usually breaks in boring ways, and boring repairs are exactly what parents want. The current price range is roughly $5,500 to $8,000 for 2009 and 2010 cars with normal miles and clean titles. Lower mile cars can go higher, but a clean higher mile example with records may be the better buy. Start it cold, let it idle, check the oil level, and drive it at neighborhood speed and highway speed. It should shift smoothly, track straight, stop without vibration, and idle without shaking. If the seller cannot show oil change history, use that as a negotiation or walk away. Also, look at the tires. A parent can learn a lot from tires. Matching tires with even wear tells you someone cared. Bald fronts, mismatched brands, or cracked sidewalls tell you maintenance was postponed until it became your problem. Keep oil changes regular, service transmission fluid, keep coolant fresh, rotate tires, and replace worn struts before the car feels loose. Choose this car when you want the safest emotional choice, the fewest surprises, and a car your kid can keep through school, work, and the first adult years. For the Corolla, do not get lazy because the badge feels reliable. Toyota still loses when owners run low on oil, ignore coolant, or drive on bad struts for years. The badge buys you a better starting point, not a free pass. A mechanic parent still checks everything because the car is for a kid, not a gamble. It proves the whole video. Mechanics do not buy their own kids the flashiest car. They buy the one that gives the family the best odds of calm ownership. And yes, the Corolla can feel plain. Good. Plain is what keeps insurance calmer, tickets fewer, repairs predictable, and parents sleeping at night. I would rather hear my kids say the car is boring than hear a tow driver say the car is loaded on the flatbed. That is the real mechanic parent's answer. Pride fades fast when repairs start. Calm ownership lasts longer. Subscribe for reliable first car picks, simple inspection checks, and garage-tested rules that help families avoid expensive mistakes before keys change hands. Buyer cheat sheet. Do not buy the car your kid loves first. Buy the car that still makes sense after a flat tire, a dead battery, a bad alternator, and a rainy night drive home. Focus is the lowest cost starter. Mazda 2 is the easiest city car. Kia Soul is the student cargo pick. Impreza is the snow country choice, but inspect it harder. Civic is a fun but sensible car. Corolla is the peace of mind pick. For every private sale, check tires, fluids, warning lights, title history, cold start, warm test drive, and records. Bring the kid, but do not let excitement run the deal. A mechanic parent is not looking for perfect. He is looking for safe, simple, repairable, and boring in the right ways, because that is what gets them home. Ask yourself one final question before cash changes hands. If this car breaks on a school night, can we fix it quickly, affordably, and without panic? If the answer is no, keep shopping. Do not let color, stereo, or seat covers make the decision. A clean title, straight braking, cold air, dry engine bay, smooth shifting, and boring receipts matter more. Young drivers need forgiving cars, not exciting problems. If the seller rushes you, leave. Good first cars survive questions. That is how mechanics think at home. We are not buying dreams. We are buying fewer scary calls, cheaper repairs, and a safer path through those first rough driving years. That matters most here. Tag someone who has a kid about to buy their first car. This is what a mechanic would tell them. Subscribe before a bad deal follows them home.